Hi, this is Circling Europe. My name's Sean Wilkinson.
And I'm John Thompson, and we're going to speak about the practice of circling in integral theory because we see a massive overlap between the two.
And indeed, integral theory was a huge inspiration to finding the practice of circling and being so inspired by it.
Yeah, for sure. It was our way into it, I guess, was 7 or 8 years ago, heavily into integral theory, and then gradually, as it's sunk down from our head gradually through our bodies, circling has been the most prominent practice to help us to do that and help us bring the concepts of integral theory into life, into the moment, and into relationships with other people. Just to give you a bit more information on the practice of circling, it's the foundational practice at the Integral Centre in Boulder, and something that Ken's really behind. And it's kind of an interpersonal meditation where you bring a presence, awareness and acceptance into relationship with others, into what's happening in the moment when we connect with others. And the key part of the practice is when someone's circled, and that's when one person gets the attention of the whole group, maybe 6 or 7 people, and they have the intention of really understanding what it's like to be this person and getting their world in the moment and offering their feedback in the moment and how they're impacted and what their authentic feelings are. And it leads to really powerful kind of breakthroughs and insights for the person being circled, and is a strong practice for the people doing the circling as well. And it just links very closely to integral theory for us.
How do you see integral theory now? How would you describe it?
Well, integral theory now for me is much more of a felt experience of life. So when I'm doing circling, one of the most prominent ways that it shows up is that every perspective that's spoken, every person that speaks into the room, there's a sense of being able to integrate and honour that perspective and that person in the same way that integral theory helped me to see the need and the truth of integrating all perspectives. So that felt sense with people, that my first response to anyone now in every way is one of integration and one of trust that there's something in what they're saying of importance, and not that it's the whole truth, but that underneath that, if I stay with it, there's something beautiful to be integrated.
Yeah, I think that's important, that there's also not necessarily believing what people say on face value as well. Like, there may be a deeper truth.
Exactly. That's the discernment side of it.
Yeah, Ken Wilber famously said that you can never be 100% wrong. And the diamond in that for me that comes through circling is when you're sat with someone and they could be saying something and it can be making you feel pain or total disbelief at how they could be saying that, and yet now there's always this slight feeling or inkling of like, yeah, but there must be something in this that makes this possible for this person to believe this.
Exactly.
Fundamentally trusting the universe that what's ever created this person having this perspective is exactly what's needed.
And at the same time, not buying into anything that they're saying. So with total discernment and really trying to listen and tune into them on a soul level. But it's that initial approach of integration for me that changes, because they feel that kind of space that's created for them, that where a lot of the magic in circling comes from.
Yeah, and circling's insights into development, how we go through stages of transcending, including what we believed before, and the different ways we see the world. That just is always in the background for me, just seeing that someone's maybe at a different stage to me, or remembering when I was maybe seeing the world more that way, and that's just like something in the background that just now informs me, but I don't feel that attached to. I still feel like I want to relate directly to each person.
Yeah, because it's almost like the map and the discernment of someone's level can get in the way of the actual territory of connection.
Yeah.
And more now, I guess it's more like that we feel the connection, and then the lights of the maps will kind of light up on the dashboard, but not in a way that will disconnect us in any way. So there's the sense how the map can get in the way of connection, but at the same time, what I love about circling is it's a practice of perspective taking. So the key element of levels development is being able to take greater and greater perspective, and that's where integral really comes to life for me. That circling is a practice. When I'm leading a circle, it's to really actually to be able to fully get someone else's perspective and to be able to integrate and honour it. And that, to actually do that in real life with someone, is a huge practice, and the impact of doing that with someone just normally leads to huge personal breakthroughs for them, and their ability to then go from subject to object of their own perspective. It's when their perspective is being able to be honoured that allows the subject-object move to then, move beyond their perspective.
Yeah. Well, the transcend and include, I mean, that's such a beautiful insight from integral theory. And I think what I love about circling is the potential to transcend and include the map or the theory, integral theory. Like when I was learning it, I had this problem which I think is quite common for integral, people who really like integral, is that you get this amazing way of seeing reality that integrates all world knowledges and spirituality, psychotherapy, and then suddenly you can't say it to anyone. They think you're strange if you say it, or they think you're being arrogant, or they just don't know what you're talking about. And so you've got this amazing way to see reality, and yet you can't relate to people anymore in a normal way, and it feels a bit disconnecting and a bit confusing. And then you can just go to the place of like, yeah, well, they don't get it, and they're not as high level as me, or they just, or you can feel bad about yourself, like, why am I not able to connect anymore if I'm supposed to be more developed? Circling for me changed that whole dilemma. It feels like possibly that turquoise space or the magician, where I've got that knowledge and that understanding, but I can let go and still be in the moment, in the immediacy of the connection, and trust that. And then when I trust the connection I have with anyone, the magic and the feeling together and understanding each other just happens so naturally. But it does feel like a letting go and like a profound new way of feeling the world, which I imagine that's what turquoise is. And then I feel a slight vulnerability of saying that I'm a turquoise or a magician, but that's how I describe what I've got from circling.
Yeah, and there's something around the making the connection and how connected we feel with each other, making that conscious in circling. That's one of the other special things about it that I think is quite rare elsewhere, is really making conscious our level of connection and the subject-object move on that.
Yeah.
Which is then kind of allowing connection in our disconnection, which again was something that was kind of a new experience for us through circling.
How would you describe that? Because I imagine that's quite hard to understand if you've heard that the first time. Being conscious of disconnection. Have you got an example when that happened recently?
It's more not the thing that I'm with now is more that I can feel I'm disconnected, but actually what will happen during circling is that I actually feel it's like I own more of my experience, more of my felt sense of what I think is disconnection comes online to me, and I feel the pain, and then I realise that actually in feeling that pain and looking at the other person and having eye contact with them, I can actually feel connection with them through the pain. and that the disconnection from the other person is actually more of a choice that will be happening because of the pain that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Whereas if sometimes a moment just comes in where it's like I feel okay with the pain that I'm feeling, and then I can feel with them and be with them. So it's this shining a light on connection, and at the same time when I hear, Ken talk about love as the evolutionary force of the universe, and how it's love that brings atoms together to form molecules. It feels very similar to me, my experiences in circling, where there's this connection almost comes down from above between the two of us, to the point where we're both feeling the same thing and there's the mutual recognition. And then the we space seems to be the transcend and include that's beyond more than the sum of the parts of just the two of us. So it's like the actual embodiment of that evolutionary move through love. I actually feel that in experience with other people. And it's the first time I felt that it was like something was transcending and including me and the other person I was with, and it blew me away.
Yeah. Well, and just practically in that space, someone, like I've had it where I felt disconnected to someone. So when I say disconnected, I felt like they didn't want me around, or I was like not interested in them. So when I actually like spoke that and said, look, I feel like you're pushing me away, or that I'm not sure I want to be around you, and then stayed and was present in my body, the pain became evident. And then when the other realised I was going to stay, they could express their fear that I was arrogant. They thought that maybe I'm arrogant, they don't want to connect with me. And when we stayed in that together, there was like an alchemy where we suddenly could see each other and see that we were both vulnerable to meet each other and were unsure what to say, and then there was the connection came, and it was a very nice connection. And then he could start to share how he often gets that with people, and then that started to link to his relationship with his father, and he had a natural way of releasing that rather than some kind of therapeutic trying to do something. It just came because we were connected.
Yeah, and that points to me to the amazing thing in circling of it's kind of multi-dimensional. All these different things are being done at the same time. So if you think of different lines of intelligence, just in that example, you've got emotional intelligence. So the emotional line is huge self-awarenesses come over through this practice. But then on the interpersonal line, there's tons going on. Cognitive line, in terms of really recognizing and being open to wider perspectives, that's happening. And then in these states, on the spiritual line, these state experiences where we, presence, going beyond yourself and feeling feeling a sense of something beyond yourself.
Yeah, we both went into a causal state, just looking at each other.
Yeah.
In that situation.
And it's kind of common for all of those things to be happening at once, all these separate lines. But through focusing on the connection, it's like all of those things get done at once. So rather than having to work on these separate lines of intelligence, it can, through this process, which is coming at it from a slightly different angle, all of these things get done powerfully and at the same time.
Well, I think when you mention love, if what attracts us to each other, to want to be close, like what attracted atoms to come together, if we're going to call that love, what attracts us, that's what we're putting our attention on, love. So we're making love more conscious.
Yeah.
So when you make it more conscious, you get to see the inside of love. Like, what is the thing that makes me want to be close to you, and what is that feeling that makes me want to go away? And when we're really conscious on that and we're open that it is, we don't want to be connected, I just find 99 times out of 100 we want to actually be more connected. And that feels really nice. Well, it feels more love.
And that's where the biggest alchemy is possible, that we see time and time again in circles.
Yeah, and it's not a romantic love, often. With my girlfriend I get a lot of romantic love. It's just like a real, like, wow, this is someone I like being close to and sharing with, and I can trust them more, and it's nice that I feel they can trust me more.
And a sense of recognition, like a sense of being seen and seeing, and a meeting in that place.
So yeah, I think that
should give people a bit of a
yeah,
flavour of, I mean, the potential to embody integral theory, to embody the map, and to have experiences with others that kind of, yeah, are game changing to an extent, or just.
and the map doesn't create separation and divide, but actually more connection. And in that connection, someone could still recognise me as being more developed than they are, or
Yeah.
more experienced. I'm not saying that we have
The
to
map
be the
stays
same.
there. Yeah, the map's there.
That doesn't go back to a green. Like, someone can give me a lot of admiration for seeing me as, like, they might see me as intelligent or something, or I can even recognise someone else I can see a very high development, like a meditative awareness that seems very powerful, but then there's just this something,
Togetherness.
yeah, this desire for connection or love that we can both just rest in.
So we do highly recommend this practice for people who are into integral theory. As you can probably tell from this interview, there's a lot of uncharted territory still within what we're doing, but the first parts that we are starting to map out are incredibly exciting and enlivening and bringing integral to life.
And we've had some integral coaches come on our workshops, and they're so awesome because they just get it. Once the presence is there, and yeah, you can have a lot of fun.
And then I'm just thinking, when we met Ken and spoke about it, he's totally behind circling as a lower left practice, and although he hasn't been circled yet, I look forward to when he is, because
well, yeah, and that's just to say, like, yeah, the reality of circling is being recognised now. It was at the conference that it was a big practice that people were experiencing during the Integral Conference in San Francisco, and the Integral Centre in Boulder, which must be the biggest in the world that's specifically an Integral Centre, circling is their number one practice, so it's really growing. And having done it now for 4 years, I think I can really see why. It took me a while, but now I can see why. Such a powerful thing to bring presence to connection between people. It's such a powerful way of creating growth. So thank you very much for listening today. I hope that's been an interesting talk for you, and we're certainly very passionate about integral and circling, and see that both really need each other. That's the way I see it. Like, if you're good at circling and you don't really understand integral theory, I think you're going to have trouble in some places, and not really see the full potential of what's possible with others and in yourself. But equally, if you know integral theory very well, but you can't come into connection with others and stay present during disconnection and understand what's happening, I think you're going to struggle as well. So it feels like they just both meet each other so well.
yeah, definitely.
So thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, and thanks everyone for listening. See you.
Bye now.